I just returned, literally just a few days ago, from the Promised Land, the Holy Land. I spent a week there. In many ways, it is the belly of the beast, especially when you go to Gaza. And I spent some time there, right near the Gaza border, close to Rafah, the southernmost tip, and seeing the military training and preparing to fight the enemy. And being someone who studied Bible my life, we know the expression, a land of milk and honey. So in a way, I was in search, can I find the milk and the honey amidst all the chaos, amidst all the confusion, amidst all the violence, the death, the atrocities. And that confusion is not just in the Middle East, it's all over the world today. And I was just watching a video where I see students marching pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel. And they were all yelling, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And they were asked, do you know what river we're talking about? What sea? And student after student had no clue. They really had no clue. It may have been the Pacific Ocean for all they knew. So with all that's going on, it's not just that we'll call it the suffering romantic or the suffering optimist within us that's looking for some ray of hope, like the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's not the light of on the oncoming train. It's more than that. There's always that element that you want to find, how human beings rise to the occasion, even during the Holocaust. Horrible of the events that happened. How simple people turned against their own neighbors. The horror, the atrocities, and so on. But then you find those few gems, those unsung heroes. Or maybe today there are some of them are sung heroes, that sacrifice themselves to help another person, simply because it's the right thing to do. So I was, I can't say surprised, but I want to share with you my experience. I landed in Israel Wednesday morning, a week ago. I get a phone call a few hours after I land. I was at the time in Herzliya, and I get a call from one of the people I was working with who's distributing my book, Toward a Meaning for Life in Hebrew, a special edition in honor of the IDF, 50,000 books that were being distributed to 50,000 soldiers, which is a very decent, very respectful run. And he says that tonight, if you're up to it, please come to a military base, a training military base called Tse'elim, which is 15 minutes away from Gaza, and we'll be giving out the books. There'll be a barbecue, and these are actual soldiers about ready to march into Gaza. And I said absolutely yes. And we went down there, 2.5-hour drive with traffic and all that. Got there, and I was overwhelmed. 21-year-old soldiers. And if you were there, you would never believe the contrast, literally. When you look at the media, the polarization, the politics, none of it there. There's a camaraderie, a love, an exuberance. You wouldn't even know it's a war in a way. They just are committed, absolutely not a shred of hesitation, ready to sacrifice their lives to protect other people. You don't hear that story at all. Everything is short-term. Should there be a ceasefire, not a ceasefire? And I've spoken about this plenty. Ceasefires are very simple. You know how you cease fire? By doing exactly that, surrendering, putting down your arms, returning the hostages, unconditional surrender, and changing your constitution. Instead of declaring war against me, against us, stop that. That's how you get ceasefires. But here you see the beauty, actual beauty. I wish we didn't have to see it in such tragic ways. People ready to die. The next day they may be dead. So I saw this resilient human spirit arising amidst the ashes. And speaking to them, they don't even realize. It's without any ears, no ears about them, no issue. I remember them lining up for me to sign the books. They were turning to me, and I said to them, I'm embarrassed. I'm humbled to stand in front of you. And I compare it to the youth in the United States who have everything comfortable, prosperous. What are they ready to fight for? We have elements of procrastination, laziness, pettiness. Here, the crystal clear, they know exactly what they are standing for. They're standing to protect innocent people. And they do it with a smile. And not a forced smile. I saw what a real dedicated soldier is like. Again, I wish we didn't have to see it at all that way. So yes, I found milk and honey, and much more than that, treasures, that I will always be etched within my psyche, seeing that the sense of urgency, sense of mission. You know, an astronaut goes to space, there's no room for wishy-washy, there's a goal. And you have to constantly keep your eyes on that objective. Just like you see a tightrope walker, always the focus, total focus. It's a tremendous force of clarity and a force of vision when a person has that. Why does it require an enemy? Why does it require adversity? That's already the mysteries of existence, the absurdity of the human condition. But what we can learn from it is that type of focus. I wish we could have it only in good times. So that's a little taste of some of the experience that I had finding beauty, yes, even in the darkness of the dark. The human spirit. This is a call to all of us, a wake-up call. A wake-up call. What do we stand for? What moral vision do we stand for? And I know I'm biased, obviously, I'm subjective, I'm Jewish, clearly pro-Israel. But I think of it as a human issue. I think of it as a call, a clarion call, and a wake-up call to all of us as human beings. What do we stand for? World War II was that moment of clarity. Once Pearl Harbor was attacked, America, the sleeping tiger, woke up. We're still not woken up to this. And maybe that's part of our blessing, that we become apathetic, somewhat lethargic. What's more important to us is still whether our baseball team will win, or who's going to win the basketball playoffs, and so on. So that's a blessing in a sense, but you have to also remember there are things called that life and death, and there are real issues to be dealt with. I have no doubt we are in an age of disruption. A shift is taking place on a cosmic level, and shifts are uncomfortable because they force you to have to challenge your own status quo and figure out where we're going from here. That's what shifts are. True paradigm shifts are that way. We're going through a cosmic shift, there's no question about it. And if you look at everything from the internet in general, in the last 20, 30 years, to how retail is held, AI, in politics, there's a disruption taking place. And disruptions are always a sign of a shifting order, a new world order. So either we will be part of the problem or part of the solution. And part of the solution is having the farsightedness, the bigger picture in mind, the bird's eye view, if you wish, where we see that these shifts are leading somewhere. And it's compelling us, it's behooving us to answer the question, what do you stand for? What are you ready to fight for? And it can't just be which video game or which baseball team or money or other impermanent elements. We're talking about the permanent values. That's what we're challenged. And when I was watching these 20, 21-year-olds, to them it's as clear as day. It's a blessing for them. I mean, it's not a blessing, the challenges they will face, the dangers they will face, but the clarity. I literally envy them, that type of clarity. How can I gain such clarity of understanding what you stand for and sharing that? And the goal here is not, God forbid, violence or war or trying to kill anyone. Defense is defense. When you need to defend yourself, that's what you need to do. The goal is not about defense. The goal is offense. What kind of world do we want to build? Unfortunately, we don't have leaders. I have not heard a leader, and I would be very happy to hear I'm wrong. A speech. Have you heard one speech, one talk by a political leader, by a head of state, by a business leader, by entertainment, any leader that's called a leader, that talked about vision, that we are here to talk about what do we stand for, What do we believe in? What are we ready to fight for? And this is not about being it's not about being pro-Israel or anti-Israel or pro-Palestine. It's about in general. What do we stand for? The fact is, because of our comforts create apathy. Apathy creates a certain complacency, and that's where we're at. So this is all that came to mind. I spent one day in Hebron. Hebron is the place, maybe the most ancient place of civilization, where Abraham of the Bible comes. And I actually was a place where the tour guide showed me where Abraham stood, looking out at the burial plot that he bought for his wife. You literally see the stones that are over 4,000 years old. And I was like taken by the sheer history of it, that's saturating the very ground. And thinking a man like Abraham, brilliant philosopher, wealthy, successful in every possible way, pioneered the path that we call today human rights, civil rights, the path of virtue, of charity, of giving, of sharing. The diametric opposite of a selfish-driven life, a selfless one, serving. Every value we cherish, this man pioneered. And I was standing there, he must have stood there 4,000 years ago on that very stone, and I was taken by it. And then I look around and I see there's the Jewish smaller community and the Arab larger community. And the guide points out to me, he says, here's a checkpoint, there's a soldier standing there, and there's a gate. On the other side of the gate is a well-known terrorist, he tells me. And the terrorist waves to me. He waves to me. And on the other side of the gate is a Jewish family. And I see the juxtaposition of different Weltanschauungs, different perspectives. And again, I try to always put myself in the shoes of everyone else. Can we find a place of transcendence? We all come from the same grandfather, Abraham. Again, the contrast of dark and light, of right and wrong, of beauty and the beast, milk and honey, and war and violence. I'm a firm believer that every person, including the guy waving to me, has a divine soul, created in a divine image. But as Michelangelo put it, sometimes the angels are trapped in the marble, and you have to carve and set them free. What will it take to carve to set the milk and honey free, to flow, to set the beauty free, get rid of the beast? I know it sounds very naive, as I said, a suffering romantic, a suffering optimist, perhaps I am, but I still think that there is that beauty in there. And I would love to see the day that every Muslim and every Christian, every Jew and every Buddhist and every Hindu and every whatever name or title you give, every atheist and agnostic and everything in between, over and under, recognizes that spark, that divine spark, that music, that song. The religious battles being fought with such passion, yes, absolute passion, demonic passion, is just so incredibly insane. And yet, people believe in what they believe. Why they cannot see each other. A few weeks ago, you may have seen the video I did, the interview I did with Louay al-Sharif, a Muslim, born in Saudi Arabia. Till 18 years old, he tells me he hated Jews. Perfect siren at the right moment, huh? He hated Jews, simply out of indoctrination. He never met a Jew. Then he goes to France to study. And who do they put him up to dorm? He stays in a house, a Jewish home. He sees Stars of David. And he wants to get out of there as soon as possible. He calls his family, whoever. They said, stay a few days. If you really want to get out, we'll get you out. And what happens? He falls in love with his family. He met them for the first time. And he fell in love with Jews, with Israel. And he's trying to now influence people like himself. I asked him, is this an uphill battle? Is it doable? He says, well, I changed. You got to see this I'd say an interview, a dialogue between us. Check it out on our YouTube channel. So I find hope. There is ray of hope. Will it take time? But the more of us that join together and don't play neutral and undecided like the guy that said, I used to think I'm indecisive, now I'm not so sure. We have to get off that fence and take a position. Be part of the solution, not be part of the problem. And being indecisive is also part of the problem. The more of us that join this battle, the battle for clarity, of moral clarity, where's a line in the sand? What's acceptable, what's not acceptable? Of course, we have different opinions. Excuse me. The more of us that take that position, the faster this will happen. And with technology, things accelerate very quickly. I don't think we need thousands of years. I don't think we need hundreds of years. I don't even think we need decades. It could happen in just a short period of time. But we have to turn the tide and see this opportunity, this wake-up call, this shake-up of our systems, and look to those within our own hearts and souls, and to those mentors that we can respect and trust, to find what is it that we really believe in. Absolutely ready to fight for. Not fight against, fight for. The more of us that can join that, the more likely we will create that change faster than you can imagine. So, my friends, there is a land of milk and honey. That milk and honey is running through our hearts and souls, running through our very veins and arteries, pulsating within all of existence, waiting for us to release that power, that beauty, even in the belly of the beast. We can do it. We need to join together, share. We can have different approaches, we can have different opinions. But at the end of the day, we are all equally created in the divine image, each in our own particular hue, color, shade, our particular music that we sing and play. But we're all part of this cosmic symphony. We all need each other, and we all are needed. We all need to complement each other. So yes, you can call me a dreamer. You could say this sounds naive, and so on. I don't believe I'm naive. I know that there are difficulties involved. But we have to hold on to this. What other hope do we have? And I will say this, as a proud Jew. 4,000 years ago, my great-grandfather Abraham stood up against an entire world that opposed this. They saw him as a threat. And he was all alone. He had no one to turn to. Him and his wife Sarah. And what happened? Today, most of the world embraces Abraham and Abrahamic principles. If you count the 2.5 billion Christians and the 1.8 billion Muslims, the Jews are 14, 15 million, so I don't know how much that adds up. You have 2/3 or 3/4 of the world that embraces the Abrahamic faith. And the standards that just 250 years ago, a country like the United States was established based on all men are created equal, all people are created equal, and endowed by the Creator with unalienable or inalienable rights. It's only 250 years ago. But it's become today the standard. More and more countries seeking that attitude. That doesn't talk about financial opportunity and making money. Give people that freedom. Give them that dignity of who they are in their spirit. You can never imagine what a human being can accomplish. Let them spread their wings. And I say this to my Muslim brothers and cousins and sisters. And I say it to my Christian brothers and cousins and sisters, as well as everyone else out there. We're all in this together. Yes, we are. And it's time that we rise to the occasion. The more of us that identify with that vision, the more glaring will be those that don't accept it for whatever reason. And more importantly, those numbers count. They can tip the scale. Practically speaking, let your voice be heard. Speak up. Write something. Share on social media. Email. Using all the channels in this context. And let's not politicize it. Let's not take sides. Let's take God's side. There's one God that created us all. We're all created in that divine image. That's what we should be advocating. I can assure you, you and I do it, exponentially it grows. The butterfly effect, and all the other elements that ultimately there are only 5 degrees of separation between us, we can tip the scales and change the world. That's what I come back with from Israel. I see on one hand war. On the other hand, I see a country going about its business. You wouldn't know if you were in Jerusalem or in other cities that there's a war being fought. So first I thought, that's very insensitive. People eating falafel and pizza and going to 5-star hotels and enjoying themselves, oblivious of people dying, innocent people dying just a few miles away. But then I thought to myself, no, you know what? Maybe there's some beauty in that as well. The beauty of being able to recognize and isolate, contain the battle, and not allow it to disrupt the children's lives going to school and so on. So we need to be aware of those battles and fight them. But at the same time, remember, we're not defined by them. Yet another contrasting miracle. So my friends, I come back with more faith and more confidence than ever before in the human race that we can do it, and we can create a world that will flow with milk and honey, with all its diversity, and find beauty even in the darkest places, and transform the darkness into tremendous light. Thank you so much for listening. Simon Jacobson here. MeaningfulLife.com is our website. Please subscribe to our offerings. Share your thoughts, your comments. Share with your friends. Let's get and spread the message out there. Be blessed and be well. Thank you so much.